One thing I did is I ran it up on racing ramps and some ramps that I made. All four sides have jack stands. You know, because people are safety conscious, and I just don't want anybody to think. Got jack stands all the way around. And how I did mine is I put a floor jack and a 2x6 underneath the oil pan, and I jacked up the oil pan about 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches. But yeah, these are the tools that I needed to do. It could be different for your car, I don't know, but I needed a 3/8 drive ratchet, a 9/16 inch shallow socket, a swivel head, some extensions, 3/8 drive extensions, a long one, a short one, and a medium size, a 5/8 inch socket, 11/16 inch socket, a 9/16 inch box wrench, 5/8 inch wrench, and 11/16 inch wrench. And pretty much with that I was able to get the job done. Not a lot to it, nothing was froze on there. One thing I did do though is before I did any of this work, I went in and loosened everything up and made sure I could get everything off real good, put some anti-seize and put it all back together before, and then I ordered the parts. But yeah, I don't know if you can really see this or not, but there's a power steering pump down below the alternator there. There's a bolt right there. There's a bolt right there that holds a bracket. That bracket on mine goes right there, and it goes right up to the one and mounts onto the motor mount bolt. So I did go ahead and loosen this bolt so that this bracket was free and would wiggle a little bit. Other than that, I didn't take anything off. Everything stayed as it was. This is my old motor mount. It blew apart, as you can see. These are the new motor mounts. These are the new motor mounts. And what I did was I went in and loosened up all the bolts. Every single bolt. You have 3 bolts on this thing. 1 here, and then 2 here. 1 right here, 1 here, and then 1 over here. And then you have the bolt that goes through the frame right here. So what I did was I went in first and I loosened up every single bolt. I loosened up all three of the bolts mount to the engine, and then I also loosened up this long bolt that goes through the frame. And then I took them out one at a time, and I put some anti-seize on them, and I put them all back. I put it all back and tightened it all down the way it was, so that when I ordered the new motor mounts, so that when I got the new motor mounts, I could make sure everything looked exactly the same, so that I could go ahead and just take everything apart. So what I did was it sits on the car kind of like this, on the frame right here. And what I did was I jacked the engine up enough that this bolt that goes through right here was very loose. I could just take it out, put it in and out with my hand. Then I took these 3 bolts out that hold it to the engine block. After you get all of that through, what I did was, well, when I got these kind of loose in the engine block, these 3 that hold it to the engine block, when I got those loose, I just took my hand and wiggled it around to make sure it was really loose. And then I went ahead and took them all the way out, and it just, the old one just slid right out. Of course, this was in 2 pieces. That made it a little easier, but nonetheless, the entire thing just kind of slid out. Then I basically just slid this one in place in the same position, Put these 3 bolts in. Well, I put these 2 bolts in loosely. This one won't go in until the engine comes down a little bit and it gets realigned. But these 2 I got in really good. I just snugged them up. With my fingers. I didn't tighten them down with a wrench or torque them down or anything. Then I came over and dropped the engine down. This just slid right down on the frame, just like that. And when it slid down on the frame, the holes through the frame lined up with these. I put this one through. I looked in this single one right here. That hole was lined up, so I finger tightened up the bolt that goes on there. Torqued everything down, and pretty much a straightforward job. There's not a lot to it. I mean, it's not. It took me the first time I ever did this, so it took me a couple hours to do all of this. But really, it's not a bad job.